Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMtrading. Today is March 10th, 2021, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, it's gold and the Nasdaq to both make a major bounce yesterday. A little bit of a rally. We'll take a look at that in just a second. But first, looking at the major economic events of the day, starting out at 3:30 South African time out of the United States, a core price index number coming out. That is a very important number. It's an inflationary number that should give us some status as to the inflation rate in the United States. Then at 5 p.m. South African time out of Canada, we have a central bank rate decision that's coming out as well. Now, looking at the various markets, we're watching the British pound gain versus the US dollar, and there's a rotation in the indices. The Dow Jones weakens while the Nasdaq bounces. Looking at commodities, gold bouncing while oil retracing. And then jumping into stocks, we watch the tech stocks, which were the weakest, as well as Tesla, making an about face and bouncing. And lastly, looking at Bitcoin, it retraced yesterday. But let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're going to first take a look at the Gbp Usd, and we see this bounce yesterday, finally capitulating after hitting this 137.99-ish level, 138 for all intents and purposes. A decent bounce, okay? A really decent bounce for intraday, using that moving average now as a resistance-ish level. Look at that, okay? As that is becoming a downwards trend, at least in the interim, okay? This was the upwards trend that we had going on for some time, over a month. Now we're making this consolidation, we're making this correction. Now looking at a longer time frame, just to give us perspective here, okay, this is still a bona fide upwards momentum, okay? It did linger below this 138-ish level if you look at the moving average, okay? But still relatively strong, okay? It's still at this upper right of this area, okay? So on a weekly basis, we're still up, okay? We may be consolidating at this area, this being the lower end, obviously being 142 the upper end. Now looking at the euro, one wasn't as lucky, didn't bounce as much, okay? So this may actually, as this continues trading, if the market actually picks up for the dollar, okay, this may retrace further to the 116-ish level, okay? Still may do that if that correction continues to happen. Now jumping into commodities, looking at gold here, okay? Gold looking at a 4-hour chart that's a little bit better, finally getting that bounce, okay? Now this has been a bona fide sell-off, okay, since it hit 1958 back in the beginning of January going into this year. We hit that high, it was a double top, and then sliding from there. Now this is a very important area that we're consolidating in, because this was our upper limit, okay, going back to April of 2020, right before the pandemic hit. Okay, so this was really an important level for us to bounce off of. Okay, so I do expect this further bounce. Now, if we do break the 1700, we could definitely see it in the 1578. We did mention that. Now, looking at the Nasdaq, okay, this is what I'm talking about. Now, this is really important. I need you to really focus on this because this is very important. We hit a high of 13,300, and that retraced down to 12,200. So, for all intents and purposes, from here to here, okay, is a 1,000-point move. Now we got the 50% retracement, that push up, okay, which we finally got it, and now we're selling off, okay? So in all intents and purposes, this is still a bona fide correction as long as the stocks are not going higher. Now jumping into the individual stocks and the tech stocks, let's look at it. Apple bouncing sharply finally yesterday after hitting 114. If we look at Facebook, also bouncing to 263, still a sideways trading environment. Okay, this is not trending upwards or downside. Amazon also finally bouncing above that 3,000-ish level, which is really an important level for us. And lastly, looking at Microsoft, also bouncing to 232. So there is strength, but I need to see some follow through for me to be convinced that the markets are getting stronger in the tech sector. Now, looking at the big tech stocks, okay, at the Dow Jones, we saw it actually retrace, okay, from 32,100, hitting that high yesterday, and then not sustaining it. So potentially, this could be a double top, okay, at this 32, at least in the interim. Now, looking at the individual stocks, if you look at Alcoa still relatively strong. If we look at JP Morgan, still relatively strong. So I don't want to say that it's a double top yet, just because we have to see how that still unfolds. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin, retracing just a little bit at this 54,600-ish level after breaking that 52,000-ish level. So in all intents and purposes, this is still a bona fide upwards trend in a 4-hour move, okay? Now looking at a daily, kind of looking like more it's going to be something that's going to be trading within a range, okay? So it could still push it higher, okay? But just remember, we have this upwards trend line that it could still retrace to, okay? So just be careful on the upside if you are long it. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.